Today is Tuesday, January 12th, 2021. Coming up on Roland Unfiltered. Yes, I am in the car. Donald Trump finally signs the emergency orders putting Washington, D.C. under these orders through January 24th. It is causing a massive traffic jam all across Washington, D.C. I've literally been in the car for an hour, where it normally takes 5 minutes getting to the office. And so we're going to talk about this order. Also, what is happening right now at the U.S. Capitol. They are moving forward on impeaching Donald Trump. The third-ranking Republican, Liz Cheney, she has come out for impeachment as well. Also, Capitol Hill police continue to investigate their ranks. 2 officers have been suspended. We'll talk with a retired Black Capitol Hill police officer who can give us a breakdown on what happened and why Clyburn may be right. This was an inside job. Also, the former governor of Michigan, Rick Snyder, is going to be indicted due to the Flint water crisis. Folks, it's a jam-packed show. It's time to bring the funk and Roland Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time. And it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
All right, folks, I'm coming to you live, yes, from the car here in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump, if he finally signs the order implementing emergency orders here in Washington, D.C., a perimeter has been extended all around the White House. And normally what happens is when they extend that perimeter, it actually goes out 3 blocks. It dropped in, shocking many people, of course, in the nation's capital. I got to D.C. In the city around 5:40. And when I got here, coming off the expressway, not far from the White House, normally takes me 5 minutes to get from that expressway to our offices. Folks, it has literally been an hour. That's how massive this traffic is. I'm approaching, actually, we're located at Black Lives Matter Plaza here in D.C. That street is blocked off, and so I'm probably going to have to do some talking, if you will, letting them know that my offices are right here. We'll see if they're going to allow me to go on 16th Street to actually park. But this is what's going on. These orders are going to extend all the way through January 24th, 4 days after the inauguration. This is because of what took place at the U.S. Capitol last week, January 6th. And of course, folks, our security is even more heightened. Normally, for the inauguration, it is the most security you will ever find in Washington, D.C. But because of that insurrection, that attempted coup d'etat, it's even more critical to have massive security. 10,000 National Guard troops are going to be in Washington, D.C., providing assistance as well. And so much has changed because of what took place last week. Right now happening in the U.S. Capitol, Democrats are moving forward. They have presented a 76-page basically impeachment document laying out exactly how Donald Trump really the insurrection last week led to it. Just so you understand how significant this is, you have Republicans who are coming out. Republican has come out and said Kinzinger, he's going to vote for impeachment. But the that really jumps out is Cheney, daughter of former Vice President Cheney, the third-ranking member on the Republican side. She came out and said, quote, "There's never been a greater betrayal by a president of the United States of his office and his oath to the Constitution." She says she is going to vote for impeachment. That is going to put extreme pressure on GOP leader, House Leader Kevin McCarthy, to decide whether he, too, is going to support impeachment. And so that's what we're looking at right now. Of course, people who were involved in this insurrection, they have been arrested all over the country, literally as they were getting off of airplanes. Here's some of that video to give an indication how the FBI is swooping down on these folks.
God. Thank you.
Folks, that's just one of the videos. There are a lot of videos out there that are showing you how that they're targeting people, arresting people, removing them from airplanes, putting them on no-fly lists as well. These things are happening. So again, as I said, we've been watching so much of this is going on. Earlier today, the Department of Justice, they actually held a news conference where they announced this was the first time they've actually spoken publicly about the insurrection since it actually happened. I'm going to sit here and just put my phone down if I can while I approach our street here. And so we're going to have some of that video in a bit, folks, if y'all can get that ready. There was a big news conference they had. The first time the federal government has actually issued a response since Wednesday took place. And that's one of the things that you're seeing that took place today, where they announced the charges that they have against various people. Give me 1 second, folks. I want to turn right here, going to my street. How you doing? How you going, Doc? I'm going to my office. I'm right here at 16th Street and K. Appreciate it, bro. Thanks a lot. All right. Yeah, so we actually able to get in. So this was giving y'all see. I'm approaching Black Lives Matter Plaza. Complete police presence right here. Cops are blocking things off. Now I got to explain this cop too what's going on. Hold on 1 second. Hi, my office is right here. I'm trying to go to my office. It's right here at K. No, but my office is. I gotta go to work. Okay, so how do I get to work? But the garage is right here. So no, but I'm not going on K Street. I'm literally right here at 1625. I'm like right here in the garage, right next to it. Yeah, the K and L Gates garage. Yeah, I put it's right here. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot. All right, folks. As y'all see, so sorry I had to see y'all had to hear that negotiation, and so you see what they have done here. What they've done here is block. You can't not park in any of these spots. You look at the signs that they have here, and some. And so that's what's going on here, guys. Do me a favor, if y'all can pull up that news conference, y'all can pull up that news conference and share that with some of the folks. We'll do that when we come back. We're gonna take a break. I got to get inside our building here. Let me flip. I'm just going to give y'all a sense of what's going on here. Okay. As you see, let me get out right here. So as you see, you got all this police. This is completely blocked off here. We're on K Street. That's Black Lives Matter Plaza. That's right there. You see all the police presence. They're very so the cars that you see coming down here, they're literally allowing them to come down much further, but they're blocking everything off. So this is K Street here. And so as you see all down here, you see all these cars coming down here. And so let's just do this here. I'm going to park right now and go inside control room. Y'all do me a favor. Let's throw this thing to commercial break to give me some time to come inside to anchor the show from indoors. And so when we come back, we're going to brother number of years on the Capitol Hill police force. He's going to give us a sense of what he thought took place on that day. 500 people, 500 Capitol Police officers. They were at work. 8 to 10,000 people were attacking the U.S. Capitol. They're completely overwhelmed. And again, people are questioning whether or not you had folks who were involved, Capitol Hill police officers, were they involved helping these folks when it came to this insurrection that took place. And so, control room, give me about 5 minutes so I can gather my stuff and run inside. And to all the folks who are watching, I'll be right back on Roland Martin Unfiltered. We'll be back in a moment.
What would you say to a young person who says, look, I'm trying to change our society, I'm trying to change this world. Man, I ain't got time for this church stuff. I just don't think y'all legit.
Oh, man. I would say just because you see an artist in music that you don't like, do you stop listening to hip hop? No, it's like ridiculous. You see one artist do something that is what their choice was, has nothing to do with the whole industry or the whole art form of hip hop. You don't throw out hip hop. So the same way, if you see an artist that you don't like do that, I would ask you, don't do the same thing with the church. Because just because you see one minister, one man or woman do something that you don't agree with, don't use that as an excuse to demonize an institution that could actually help save your life. You know, I am who I am because I was raised in the church. You know, all the things that I'm able to do in the world are directly related to being brought up in a healthy church environment where I learned how to develop my gifts. I learned how to communicate. I learned how to deal with other people. I learned how to lead. All of those things that help me and other people become successful in society, you can learn in the church. So I would say to somebody that's young, I would challenge them. Everything that's in you, if you're trying to get it out, get into a good church, because that church will be a fantastic incubator for all the gifts that are in you. And when you find the right church, you will find that the others that you may have been looking at were the wrong people to look at. In any profession, I don't care what it is, you're always going to find people that you can point out that may not represent that profession to the best of their ability. But when you find those that do, then you begin to see what it really is about.
To be the first African American to become the Secretary of Defense, if confirmed, is an enormous honor and a privilege. But you know, it's not the first time that I've been the first. Back when I was a lieutenant colonel, I was selected to be the operations officer for the 82nd Airborne Division. An African American had never held that position before. And later on, I would become the first African American to command an infantry division in combat. And subsequent to that, I was the first African American to command an Army Corps in combat. The first African American to be the Vice Chief of the Army, the first African American to be the CENTCOM commander. It's hard to believe, but it's true. There is kind of a commentary here, and that is, it shouldn't have taken this long for us to get here. There should have been some that preceded me. And I am enormously grateful for the service and the sacrifices of those that went before me. The Tuskegee Airmen, the Montford Point Marines, the folks who served in World War I and World War II, who performed with distinction. And it's on their shoulders that I stand here today. My goal is to not be the last. Hopefully we can set those conditions in place that ensure that I'm not the last Corps to command in combat or the last CENTCOM commander, and certainly not the last African American Secretary of Defense.
We will not go quietly into the night. And we need to march on the Capitol today.
We are going to take our country back.
We're coming for you, and we're going to have a good time doing it.
Let's have trial by combat.
You'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength. We're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you, to the Capitol.
In 2 hours, this woman will be dead.
We are now walking down the inaugural path to the Capitol building.
Oh, there we go.
The U.S. Capitol has been breached.
Hey, Cap.
5 minutes since Capitol breach.
I call on President Trump to go on national television now and demand an end to this siege.
At least one improvised explosive device has been found on the grounds of the U.S. Capitol.
Repeatedly being told by the National Guard at the national level that we did not have authorization.
We love you. You're very special. Our incredible journey is only just beginning.
I'm in the world of fiction. That's what I do. I'm an actress. I spent 35 years in this business. I've been in the business since I was 14. I was discovered in a basement theater in Philadelphia, a basement called Freedom Theater. And that's what I do. I play for a living. And I look and see that we're in a world that, that it's bizarre where you can't tell the fake from the real. These people are not faking it. That's what they're going to, they're willing to put their whole lives, their families' lives, everything they've accomplished around looking pathetic and weak around a table because this man showed up and told them that, that he was the one and everybody should follow him. He didn't even have a good argument. He's not Martin Luther King. He has no words. He has he has nothing. He's just rich and white and male. And so people want to see that power on display and then tell us that we're not, that we're crazy. They can't do it anymore. That's the good news.
Good afternoon. I'm Stephen D'Antuono, Assistant Director in charge of the Washington Field Office of the FBI. And I'm here to provide a quick update on the FBI's activities since the violence and destruction at the Capitol last week. The FBI is quite familiar with large-scale, complex, and fast-moving investigations. We are up to the challenge. As Director Wray says, the FBI does not do easy. To be clear, the brutality the American people watched with shock and disbelief on the 6th will not be tolerated by the FBI. Men and women of the FBI will leave a stone unturned in this investigation. Since these events, the FBI has hand in hand with the United States Attorney's Office and our law enforcement partners here in D.C. and across the country to arrest and charge multiple individuals who took part in the 6 days. We have opened 160 case files. That's just the tip of the iceberg. The significance of this investigation is not lost. This is a 27 full-bore extensive operation into what happened that day. We cannot do it without the help of the American people. Since all for tips, video pictures, we have received more than 100,000 PGO media. Absolutely fantastic. And we are scouring every one for investigative and intelligence leads. We continue to ask for more. If you have information, 1-800-FBI or submit photos and videos fbi.gov/capital, and that's capital with an O. I want to stress that the FBI has a long memory and a broad reach. Agents and our partners are investigating leads not only here in the D.C. area, but across the country through the FBI's 56 offices. So even, like I've said before, even if you've left D.C., agents from our local field office will be knocking on your door if we find out that you have the criminal activity at the Capitol. But before this is your opportunity to come forward, as several individuals who are involved in Wednesday's have done, to hear about their patient. Weeks leading up to the January 6th rally, the FBI internally with every FBI field office to ensure we were looking for intelligence that may have developed about potential violence during the rally on January 6th. We developed some intelligence that a number of individuals were planning to go to the D.C. area to cause violence. We immediately shared that and action was taken, as demonstrated by the arrest of Macario by the Metropolitan Police Department the night before the rally. Other individuals were identified in other parts of the country, and the travel subsequently disrupted. The FBI receives enormous amount of information and intelligence. Our job is to determine the credibility of it, the laws and policies that govern FBI investigations. We have to separate the aspirational from the intentional and determine the individuals saying despicable things on the internet are just practical board bravado or they actually have the intent to do harm. In the latter, we work diligently to identify them and prevent them from doing so. As a statement can be, I cannot open an investigation without a threat of violence or alleged criminal activity. However, which does turn to a call of criminal activity, the FBI will to undertake investigative action. And in this, we had no indication information was linked to any person, but matter of an online discussion. This information was immediately disseminated in a written product and briefed through our command post operations to all levels of law enforcement. Part and parcel of our mission into violent actors is the fact we continue to gather intelligence that will aid in our ability to disrupt possible future activity. This is to say, we are leveraging our relations with federal, state, and local enforcement partners, using us at our disposal to find and bring everyone in last week's criminal activity. I'm going to turn over to Acting U.S. Attorney Michael Sherman.
Folks, the Department of Justice knows all what is taking place, and there are people, especially with one Capitol Hill police officer. Congressman Tim Ryan said that 2 officers have been. They've also targeting these folks who have been taking pictures, put on a MAGA hat on. So there's also going to be an investigation by our Capitol Hill police force to what went on. Congressman Jim Clyburn has intimated, he implied that he believes it was a job. Not only that, photo, what they have done, there's been, they were able to access this writing social media site Parler. And they had some very weekly, and the Gizmo story then showed, I'm going to pull up again, it showed able to use tracking to show all of these people who breached the Capitol. Folks, shocking story. This story shows you how these folks, these protests got inside this Capitol. By using this iPad, please, this right here. Parler users breached deep inside U.S. Capitol building, GPS data shows. This here is a map. This is a map here, folks. Able to, by accessing their GPS, it shows you where Parler members were. How they essentially surrounded the U.S. Capitol. See how deep we're able to get. Let me see if I can zoom this in. This is the U.S. Capitol right here. How deep they were able to get into the U.S. right now. It's former Capitol Hill officer Theodis Butch Jones. Butch, how long did you serve on the force?
For 37 years.
37 years. When you look at this map, go right back to it, folks. We see this map I'm showing right now, and you see how deep these folks were able to get the Capitol. That has to be shocking to someone who knows full well you guys clamp anybody and everybody once they hit those grounds if anything crazy goes on.
Sir, I think that was too close. No outer perimeter, no inner perimeter. In the history of Capitol Police, no one have ever crossed the line at all. So it was appalling to see how easy it was for them to come on the Hill.
We saw the video where they were literally just tossing aside barricades, overrunning these police officers. Police officers were seen on video waving folks in. That also be shocked. And we're hearing, we've talked to some members who are saying, look, I don't know if I can even trust the Capitol Hill police force because there are some renegade cops on the force who were in support of what these did.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. But it's not just the police officers. And I hope they don't use the police officers for when it's more than a police officer. They can't use the police for scapegoats. That's what they're doing. This was above their pay raise. These decisions was above their pay raise. And I think members of Congress and the Senate, somebody had to give the authority not to bring people in to help. And that's above the pay raise of Capitol Police, the Sergeant Arms, the Chief of Police. This is higher than what we're looking at.
The former police chief's son, who has resigned, he said that he laid at the Sergeant at Arms, where they did not want the same presence of National Guardsmen on the steps of the U.S. Capitol that we saw when they had the Black Lives Matter protesters. That's the one that has happened. Also, Nancy Pelosi demanded the resignation of the House Sergeant at Arms. The Senate Sergeant at Arms has also resigned as well. We also know from Maryland Governor Harry Hogan, he got phone calls inside the Capitol from Speaker Pelosi, from Maryland Congressman Steny, the majority leader, saying send in National Guard. He says 90 minutes before he came at the Pentagon to answer. Part of the thing people are saying is that Donald Trump, the people who he put in place, they did not want to lift finger to help because, frankly, they were enjoying seeing what happened. And the Washington Post is reporting that Trump, people, Republicans, Kellyanne Conway, McCarthy, and others who were trying to reach Trump, saying you have to send help, he was preoccupied watching television.
Again, this is above somebody's pay scale. There's no check and balance on Capitol Hill. Congress have no check and balance. Who check out Congress? They police themselves. The sergeant they work for Congress. So if they say no, who are they gonna go to? There's no check and balance. They're gonna make the little guys the guinea pigs. But I guarantee you, as easy as it was, the only office was destroyed was the Democrats. They didn't mess up any statues in Statue Hall. You know, it's like somebody said, you can do this, but don't do this. It was too easy. And for them not to have reinforcement, for them not to have Metropolitan or the United States Park Police helping them, something was wrong with that picture.
When you speak of that, even Republicans have been critical of Congresswoman Lauren Boebert of Colorado because they blasted her on a call yesterday saying, hell were you doing tweeting, positioning of Nancy Pelosi when we were under attack? And she says, oh, she didn't mean any harm. They said she was literally saying where Nancy Pelosi was in the Capitol.
That's correct. And Mr. Martin, here's the thing. Somebody knows something. You know, there's no way that you in a situation like that, you got reinforcement. They treated last week like it was a regular work day. No, 2,200 officers was not on work. So something is wrong when management leave their officers out to dry. And the only reason they speaking the way they speaking right now is because members got scared. Members were scared for their life. So, yes, they want something done.
BuzzFeed had an article where a couple of black officers on the force talked about being called the N-word, talked about they saw it took place and they were stunned as well. And they suck. I mean, you had supremacists who were part of this attempted coup d'etat.
This is not the first word. This is not the first time black officers on Capitol Hill have been mistreated or been called by the N-word. When I started on the police department, the N-word was usually being used by calling you boy. Meant the same thing, but still, racism and discrimination is well known on Capitol Hill. Capitol Hill has been known for years to be the last plantation, the good old boy system. So when you have that, unless they have a check and balance, this has been going on for years, and this was not planned for a couple of weeks. This has been in the plan for a while for it to go as smooth as it went.
To your point, this video I'm playing right now that was in that BuzzFeed article showing as them coming into the U.S. Capitol, that is Eugene Goodman right there, the officer. We discussed him the other day, and as they were approaching, he knew it was just him, and he was the last line of defense. We showed it yesterday how he picked the stick up. When he comes up these steps, he's going to look. He's calling for his support. He's going to look to his left because that's where that was the entry to the U.S. Senate floor. We had a shortened version yesterday. This is the longer video. When he gets to the top of the steps, he's going to look over his shoulder. If he did not lead them away right here, he looked down the hallway. If he did not lead them away, they were literally within seconds of being able to attack members of the United States Senate. We had Congresswoman Maxine Waters on the show. She said point blank that if she had not left the Capitol early, there's no doubt she would have been targeted and potentially killed by these protesters.
Again, I am not surprised. And it's sadly to say the police officers have always been there for Congress. The sad part is Congress have not been there for the police officers. 9/11, they were there. During the anthrax, they were there. When they had demonstrations, they were there. When they was at the baseball field and the police officers, 2 black police officers saved the congressman, they were so grateful, but they left them naked last Wednesday when they had this demonstration. Somebody knew what was going on.
The quote from that BuzzFeed article, one of these black police officers. That was a heavily trained group of militia terrorists that us. They had radios. We found them. They had 2 haters and earpieces. They had flash. They wwere prepared. They strategically 2 IED bombs in 2 different locations. Military training. A lot of them were former military. Officers said. They even described coming face to face with police officers from a country in the mob. He said some of them flashed their badges, let them through, and tried to explain it was all part of a movement supposed to help. Quote, you holding a Blue Lives Matter and you are out there fucked up. One guy pulled out his badge and said, "For you." I had his badge, so I was like, "Be kidding."
You know, Mr. Martin, I'm surprised that people are surprised. This has been going on for years. And for all of a sudden, people are surprised. You know, if that had been Black Lives Matter, Louis Farrakhan, they wouldn't even got to the steps. They wouldn't have got past 4th Street in Southwest, on the Southwest, going to the Capitol. Because this was a white organization demonstration, they did not prepare like they would if it was a black organization. And yes, I think it was still too easy.
Well, you're absolutely right. I can tell you when Jamal Bryant, Jeff Johnson, and I, when we 200 brothers to Capitol Hill to stand up for Loretta Lynch, and we were met at the top of this by Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, Congressman Andre Carson. It was a hell of a whole lot of Hill cops who came out of nowhere for your black men who were there, very peaceful, just to speak up for Loretta Lynch.
You know, just before I forget, I want to say I take my hat off to the mayor of D.C. Can you imagine if she did not tell Black Lives stay at home? There would have been a bloodbath out there. A lot of people could have got hurt if the mayor of the District of Columbia did not tell Black Lives Matter to stay at home. And I remember when Farrakhan came up to the Hill with 4 gentlemen, just 4. They held the whole department over until he left the Hill. Even they had a SWAT team in the garage. And it was an insult to every black officer because Farrakhan wasn't like that.
All of that for Farrakhan and 4 guys with him.
I'm telling you, they had the whole department, outside, the Senate side, the Capitol side, the PD, and SWAT. They held them for at least 2 hours over until he left the building.
Wow. What do you think should happen next?
Well, you know, the president said that the people that was involved, they should be treated the same way he thought people should be treated if they take down the statues, that they should get 10 years. I think they should get some serious time. I think they should look at Congress, and it should be an investigation, a off the hill investigation, not members of Congress, but people outside a commission to find out what went wrong, because our democracy was challenged on last Wednesday.
The Order's Butch Jones spent nearly 40 years as a Capitol Hill police officer. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you very much for your insight.
Thank you for having me.
Let's go to my panel. It's Kelly, legal analyst, Law and Victoria Burke, Newspaper Publishers Association, Jacob Wicker, Young Politician Committee. Candace, when you listen to what Butch had to say, and you think about Republicans continue to make uses for what these, the whole deal, let's move along, let's have peace. No, they do not want any level of accountability. They want us to move on because they know they're complicit. They know that they actually egg these people on. They spurred this on. Kevin McCarthy, all of a sudden trying to be big man on the, yet he was on Fox News with Laura talking about don't accept this election. They were actually fanning the flames of this. Every single Republican who did, they are complicit in what took place.
They certainly are complicit. And when you look at what's going on here, we talk about the Capitol Police, and there have been a couple of them that have fired, but they've suspended with pay. And therein lies the problem. These are officers that were in order to protect democracy, protect the people, protect the Capitol building itself. And look what happened. Feces and urine all over the Capitol. 5 people who died. These are officers who did not do their job. If a teacher doesn't teach, she gets fired. If a doctor says does not want to do any more operations because of something, he is going to be fired. These are officers who are still paying for. They are suspended with pay. And therein lies the problem and a lot of double standards, as Theophis was saying, that we have people who are playing both sides of the fence. Here is a mob, a huge insurrection announced by President Trump. Go down to the Capitol on January 6th. It's going to be wild. This is someone who was premeditating this event, getting people along the way. And when he got there, he encouraged them to do exactly what they did. Go, be an insurrection, mob the Capitol, because what you're seeing is lies. We have done. And even at this point, President Trump has not even apologized for anything. He has not even said Biden is even the president now. He just said he's looking forward to a smooth transition, but he hasn't even admitted that the president-elect Joe Biden is in fact going to be president on the 20th.
What we're seeing here, Lauren Victoria Burke, again, we are seeing we're seeing Republicans who wants to just, can y'all just keep it moving? No. Stay here. And see, I love how people talking about we should extend grace. The German theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer, he's the one who coined the phrase cheap grace. That's the people who out wrong, then go, God, can you forgive me? Then go out and do wrong again. Lord, can you forgive me? He's like, no, we ain't in cheap grace. That's what these folks want to extend, cheap grace.
You know what? I don't know what they want to extend. All I know is that what happened last Wednesday was outrageous and wrong, seditious and treasonous, and everyone involved should be prosecuted. And we got idiots, making videos like this idiot Alexander, who is in charge of Stop the Steal, naming members of Congress who he planned that event last Wednesday with, and that would be Mo Brooks and Andy Biggs and Paul Gosar, who helped him. And of course, Mo Brooks spoke at the rally that the president was at before this entire attack on the Capitol happened. So, all this nonsense about healing and we have to heal and get over it. No, everybody involved in this needs to be prosecuted. And this U.S. attorney who made the statement today, it was interesting that we didn't see Christopher Wray out there, but Michael Sherwin, I think, held his own. And when he was talking about sedition and incitement and all that, the FBI needs to get after these people. And I cannot wait for 8 days from now we get Joe Biden's FBI in there. But really, this FBI is doing pretty good so far in terms of tracking a lot of people down. Keep in mind that in the U.S. Capitol, they have to go through all of the cameras that are in the Capitol to see all the crimes that everybody committed. And, of course, go over all the stuff on the police radio. I'm aware, of course, as we all are, of the 2 officers who were suspended, and there's like dozens or so that they're investigating that have written certain things in social media and Facebook. And I'm sure on a 2,000-person department, they are going to find those things. What I see on a lot of these videos is we see video of the cops being deferential, of course, as they always are to white audiences, as we saw during the Tea Party and healthcare, moving the gates. But then again, you do see a lot of videos of, quite frankly, white and black cops fighting for their lives and fighting their asses off against these people. Because basically what this is they were set up. These cops were set up. And, full disclosure, I have several people who are members of the U.S. Capitol Police who are friends of mine, good friends of mine. And so I'm talking with a little bit of bias here, but this is a mistake that was on the top. And the fact that Paul Irving, the former House Sergeant of Arms who got fired, isn't saying anything kind of tells me that. We did finally even son the chief talking. He talked to the Washington Post and he talked to local media in Washington about what happened. And he says, there is a lot of sort of conflicting reports. There was some lackadaisicalness at the top, and that rank and file set of cops had to pay for it. People like Eugene Goodman had to pay for it. Who I know, who did a great job. So I just would say that until we know exactly what happened and who played a part in what, it won't surprise me if there might have been some cops involved. But I got to tell you something. I think we should be looking at members of Congress and their staffs. We should be looking at cops too, but watch members of Congress and their staffs should be investigated in this by the FBI, because we already know, like I said, from the idiot Ali Alexander, Mr. I planned this whole thing, that there were at least 3 members of Congress involved. So that all needs to be looked into.
This is the New York Times story right here, Jacob. Olympic gold medalist was part of a crowd that invaded Cleet Keller, who won medals in 3 summer games, was captured at the U.S. Capitol last week's violent protest. This is actually what was captured. He was actually wearing his U.S. Olympic jacket that had USA printed across the back, down the sleeve. Was identified by former teammates and coaches. To see the kind of people who were involved here. These folks act like this was a walk in the park. Oh, no big deal. I had this idiot at redstate.com who posted saying this was actually not an insurrection. It wasn't terrorism. He got left and right. They were forced to take that post down. Again, this group of Republicans who want us to act as last week did not happen. And now they want to shift everything. Oh, it's the Democrats. It's the Democrats. It's the Democrats. Trump today, he decides to open his mouth and then say, oh, Democrats, y'all are going to you're going to make my people even more upset. You really should do this. I'm sorry. When you say you shouldn't do it, that ain't going to fly. Actually, hold tight 1 second. What I want to do is I want to go to the floor of the U.S. Capitol. Sheila Jackson Lee is speaking. Y'all should be able to hear. Let me know the audio, please.
But we are a co-equal branch of government. And Mr. Raskin's resolution is an appropriate resolution because we have a responsibility to govern and to protect the American people. And so this resolution is not in violation of the Constitution because it is the Congress calling upon the Vice President to reflect on January 6th, a day in infamy, to reflect the fact that there were 6 people that died, that we lost 2 precious law enforcement, Capitol Hill police. There are injuries in many ways attributable to this, some in different ways than others. And we lost Americans. And clearly, it is a long chain of events that goes back to the President of the United States. The President, when a announced election came about on November 6, 2020, proceeded to declare that it had been stolen and continued to stoke the fires of his believers to begin to plan some kind of attack, because he kept saying, come to Washington, I'll see you there. And then, of course, as time went on, I valued the president's right to the courts, of which he went. But he did not find that to be a solution for him. So HRES 21 is the Congress speaking, and we have every right as a co-equal branch to speak. Why? We have that right.
Gentlewoman from Pennsylvania.
15 seconds? 30? 30? Okay, 30 seconds, thank you.
Gentlewoman is recognized for an additional 30 seconds.
We have that right because the FBI has indicated that they have seen 100,000 digital media, and they'll be looking for more to see those who endangered all of those that were here. My appreciation to police and the floor staff and law enforcement, custodial staff, our staff, media, and others who were put in harm's way along with members. So I rise to support this resolution because it does not violate the Constitution or the intent of the 25th Amendment. It provides for the Congress to speak, to ask the Vice President to recognize that this president is the only one that has ever stoked this kind of action.
Gentlewoman from Pennsylvania reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma.
Jacob.
Yes. I'm at a loss of words. During that time, you can definitely see that it was 2 Americas. As a gentleman before us said, if that was a Black Lives Matter protest, there would have been guns involved. There would have been a lot of tasing and shooting and a lot of people being arrested. And I feel that I do feel that it was some congressmen or congresswomen involved in this process, because how intricate the Capitol Police is compared to the regular law enforcement office. So I believe in time we'll be able to find it, but it's a sad day in America to see that we're as a people, we're looking for an advocate for change, but we keep getting the same history lessons, I would say, over and over as time goes by, and it's a sad day for our country.
This Arizona Congresswoman Debbie Lesko, listen to this, y'all.
These calls, it is clear they have full faith in the president and his ability to act in a manner that is consistent with his constitutional responsibility. Simply put, they trust him to do the job. Yet, the demand they are making insinuates that the Vice President Pence cannot be trusted to make the decision to invoke the 25th Amendment on his own. It calls into question the core of his judgment. If you trust someone to lead the nation and be the acting president, shouldn't you also trust the same person to take steps necessary to safeguard if it is needed? With that, I urge opposition to the bill, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman.
See, this is the thing with the Republicans. This is the game that they want to play here, kids. Even with 8 days, even Biden becoming president in 8 days, these folks are scared to death of Trump. I've seen these stories where some have said, oh, they voted to not accept the electors because they were scared of being attacked by Trump supporters and their families. Resign then. Quit. But don't be a coward. Don't all of a sudden say, oh, I was forced. I was forced to do this because I had a gun to my head, because if I didn't do this, they're going to attack me and my family. Well, quit.
Yeah, and we did see a few people who did quit, right, Roland? Did we not, in the cabinet? But when we look at what she was saying on the floor, she's saying what we all know and understand, that you can't trust leadership. We haven't heard from Pitt. We don't know what he's going to do, which is why there's this reign to try to get him what he is indeed supposed to do. This is why a lot of people are saying that he's not going to co-sign on this 25th Amendment proposition. And we don't know if there are enough cabinet members, which you need half in order to move through to the next step. What people are looking at is impeachment. What the Republicans are looking at, in addition to possible impeachment, because we do have Mitch McConnell necessarily saying no. We don't hear a lot of Republicans out there trying to persuade other Republicans to say no, which is what we normally hear from the Ted Cruzes of the world, for example. We've Liz Cheney and a few people who are now getting on board. And I think the closer we get to the time of inauguration, the more people we're going to see, get on board. Republicans, you have to understand, are looking at not only for whether or not the president is going to be remaining in office for the last few days, but what is actually going to be happening and has happened to the Republican brand. They have lost Congress in terms of the vote, and now everything that Trump touches and has touched for a very long time has just diluted the brand. They don't only want to see him out, some of them. They want to see him out of the Republican Party. So that's the next step, that Republicans are behind doors trying to determine and decide now, not just out of office, but outside of the party, because the longer he stays in, the more crazies they get that come to the table for Trump, and the less money they get from large contributors who have supported Republicans over the years.
And that is the real issue here, Lauren. AT&T, Verizon, Comcast, Hallmark. I can go on and all of these companies saying no money to any of the folks who voted not to accept the tours. That's what they're afraid of. They are afraid of money drying up. So they're now trying to, now we support. And look, Liz Cheney, I know what she's doing. She's basically saying, Kevin McCarthy, what you gonna do? You gonna stand with him, or you gonna vote for impeachment? You stand with him, I'm gonna have your job.
Yeah, well, the money piece is huge. Obviously, it's interesting that the death of Sheldon Adelson today, but, there is no real Republican brand. The Republican Party has been radicalized by Donald Trump. When you have a vice president who's too scared to do the right thing because of, in fact, the brown shirts, the violence, the threat of violence, if you do the right thing, that's a situation where we're really going to see who really believes in our democracy, quite obviously. When you have 120 Republicans being against the certification of Joe Biden being elected president after the U.S. Capitol building was attacked, that's a radicalization of the Republican Party. And we saw the split fairly early on before the Lincoln Project came on. I mean, we saw George Will. We saw a few signs of there was going to be a schism. But, the idea that they could continue to follow such a nut into battle. Donald Trump is crazy. We have a crazy president of the United States. And they still want to follow because they're afraid not only really of him, but of course of his followers. And the level of cowardice, the inability to tell these people the truth. They've just decided to just lie to everybody, to lie to them that there was something wrong with the election, which of course is just utter nonsense. So it has the big lie and it has the threat of violence. And of course, we just saw the ramifications of the lying and violence on January 6th. But this is not really a party. This is a group of people pulling off lies and stunts on Fox News. And yeah, to your point, Roland, now the money is starting to get, now that's in play now. And of course, finally, these social media companies have finally woken up. Finally, Mark Zuckerberg has woken up years into everyone telling him that this is what was going to happen. But I actually think, Mark Zuckerberg is good at coding, and he's very stupid about common sense and politics. So he waited around, and then finally Twitter there's nothing different that Donald Trump is doing before last week. Absolutely nothing. Finally, they're cutting off the Twitter accounts. Finally, they're cutting the communications. So, of course, the money is the last piece. But we got to be real. We got a week coming up here. I'm going to be in Richmond, Virginia tomorrow. The legislature is going to kick off tomorrow. We got a week coming up with these people planning things into inauguration. And my friends on Capitol Hill are telling me, they're getting security briefings and all that, the members, the cops. I'm not hearing anything that's making me hopeful, other than the fact they're going to surround the Capitol with 15,000 U.S. Guard troops. I'm not hearing any real plan there. We got no sergeant of arms on your House and Senate side and no real chief of police. And I know that, Assistant Chief Pittman is there, but she just was thrown in there because they fired Son. So I'm not hearing what the plan is. And these people are putting out declarative messages targeting members of Congress. So we got to get real with what we're dealing with. We got to get real fast. Donald Trump is in charge until noon on the 20th of all of our security agencies, Homeland Security, DOD. So we got to wake up to this. And I think it's a dangerous situation we enter into for the 18th, 19th.
We're showing right now for a live look, procedural vote on the 25th resolution that Congress is voting. This is all, again, first of all, they're voting on the resolution. Nick Pence, you should invoke the 25th Amendment. It's okay. Personally, I think what they should just go right to impeachment. Let's go live. This Congressman G.K. Butterfield, North Carolina.
I inform the House that Mr. Bishop will vote yes. He will yes on ordering the previous question. Madam Speaker, as a member designated by Mr. Thompson of Mississippi, pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Mr. Thompson will vote yes. He will vote yes on ordering the previous question. Madam Speaker, as a member designated by Mr. Richmond of Indiana, pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Mr. Richmond vote yes on ordering the previous question.
With all the members due to actually be there, and so that Congressman G.K. Butterfield stating he was speaking on behalf of Comfort Bishop of Georgia, Thompson of Mississippi, Congressman Richmond of Louisiana. They will be actually for this thing here. I think is as looking at this as this vote takes place, it's also putting Republicans on record, putting the record to say who is willing to stand by Donald Trump, who is willing to see him. And remember, upwards of 150 voted not the electors last week. These people, that's more than that's 2/3 of the caucus. People are saying Trump's base. It is the Republican Party, and they are scrambling because they see. And to me, Democrats must go forward. They must drop every hammer on rips they can, every single person who has been involved that be doing right now.
I agree. I believe that it was involved should definitely be held accountable. We lost lives, the country. We've ruined people's lives. And that we have people, that a whole section of people, let's go on African American in general, feels disenfranchised. They literally watched people in the Capitol and not be ramified. Ramifications know nothing. Now that the FBI is getting involved, it's another punch to the showing you that, hey, you're not right. So yeah, I believe that I should definitely on whomever was involved, that Republicans who don't stand with Trump. But you never know going forward who allegiances lies because there's money involved. So it depends on what they want. It's unfortunate that it's not considered.
The thing here is this here, and I think people need to when you know how complicit Republicans are in this. The thing here, this is a piece from The Intercept. A lot of people have been saying Paul Gosar needs to be run out of Congress as well. Watch this to understand how complicit. You heard Butch Jones, this thing goes high up. This is the kind of involvement where how they were in the deal.
The head of the House Freedom Caucus, Republican Representative Andy Biggs of Arizona, helped plan the January 6th event that culminated in a storming of the Capitol. That's according to Ali Alexander, a lead organizer of the gathering. Alexander, a pro-Trump personality, was an early founder of the Stop the Steal movement.
We gotta save the Republic, right?
Helped bring together various right-wing factions around a mass event on January 6th. It was aimed to coincide with objections to the counting of the Electoral College. Alexander made his claim in 3 separate live streams in late December, adding that Representatives Paul Gosar of Arizona and Mo Brooks of Alabama also involved.
I was the person who came up with the January 6th idea. And I'm the guy who came up with the idea of January 6th when I was talking with Congressman Gosar, Congressman Andy Biggs, and Congressman Mo Brooks. So we're working with members of Congress while other people are trying to showboat. We're really working hard because, look, I believe that the president should do something brave. I think that the vice president should do something brave. I believe that that's how we maintain the White House, and I believe that we need to maintain the White House. I think it's a moral imperative.
His claim is buttressed by another video from a December 19th rally at the Arizona State Capitol, at which Alexander played a video that Biggs had supplied.
Congressman Gosar has been the spirit animal of this movement. One of the other heroes has been Congressman Andy Biggs. Congressman Andy Biggs sent us a video.
Andy Biggs here. I wish I could be with you today. I pledge to you that I'm going to keep fighting for President Trump. And when it comes to January 6th, I'll be right down there in the well of the House with my friend from Alabama, Mo Brooks.
In the video, Biggs mentions Brooks as his ally in the fight. Gosar spoke in person at the event.
Freedom isn't cheap, folks. Freedom isn't cheap. But you know what? Imagine this. That you get to go back home once we conquer the Hill. Donald Trump has returned to being the president. And amazing things will happen in 4 more years.
Biggs' connection to Alexander.
Conquer the Hill and return to Trump. That was the strategy. That was their focus. They wanted to overthrow the government, pure and simple. Candace.
And the saying right there.
Go ahead.
They're saying it right on the video. I mean, I'm wondering when the FBI is going to be talking to these people. If that's not sedition, I don't know what is. And they've been saying this for a while. Because what made this invalid to them, of course, was black voters deciding this election in Atlanta, in Philly, in Milwaukee. That's what they can't stand. That's what they can't get over. You know, that's their definition of, you know, there's a problem with the election. And they're saying it right there. And I'm telling you, if the FBI is not having patience with them, I don't know what it takes. If that's not sedition, if that's not treason, what it takes.
Agreed. And we could see the reconnaissance plan happen on Twitter. We could see it on Facebook. We could see it before it happened. The FBI and other people pay attention to it that many of us would have thought is beyond me. What's also beyond, this is just an aside, the number of men of color, powers of positions, of types of groups that are finding their way in the party, and not only just way, but they're being leaders. On the end, when we look at people they're doing behind closed doors, and I think what we're going to find after the FBI continues to investigate is we're going to find more people who have agreed to do something unlawful, which, as we know it, is a conspiracy. We are going to see a lot of conspiracy charges come, and as I believe had mentioned, we're not just going to see it from the people we saw up to the Capitol, but we're going to see inside of the Capitol. I think the time will tell, and going to see exactly a lot of things that are going to unfold that we probably never have even imagined.
Even to get more real, these people are an accessory to the deaths of certain people, including a U.S. Capitol, a federal police officer, a federal law enforcement officer. You incited a riot that then led to the death, the murder of a police officer. So, you know, I mean, we've seen stories a million times where some girlfriend that doesn't know anything gets an accessory for dealing because her boy did something. We got to get real about the charge of these people. There were 5 people who died that day, including a federal law enforcer. And you got members of Congress in the planning of something that incited violence in the United States Capitol in a clear attempt to try to stop the certification of an election. I'm not an attorney, but it sounds pretty close to sedition to me. And I can't wait to find out. Couldn't believe any of the today with the press conference over at DOJ did not ask that question, whether or not they were talking to members of Congress who were clearly involved in this and are saying they're involved in it. They're not running. Apparently, Andy Biggs is trying to pretend that he has nothing to do with it. Well, why did Ali Alexander mention his name? He didn't mention his name out of anywhere. And what they've been saying has been consistent with the lying and the nonsense and the garbage that Donald Trump has been saying and Stop the Steal has been saying. So I can't wait to find out whether or not, and again, we're going into inauguration week. If I was the members of the CBC and the Black Caucus, I'd be very careful. They put up a metal detector in front of the door that the members walk into on the floor, and I'd be very careful with these members because they are radicalized. It's not just the people who were out at the mob at the Capitol. It's some of the members of Congress that they got to keep an eye on.
This is let's go back to Capitol Hill with the vote. You see that vote 184. This question 184-76. There's still about 3 some odd minutes remaining. You see Republicans. You can pull the audio up, please. I'll talk over it. But you see what's happening. You see what's happening. The Republicans, Jacob, cannot let go of Trump. These have no idea. They know exactly what. They do not care. They do not care that he is incited a riot. They do not care that he has done any of these things. These people are more than happy to go along with this thug. That is what is that's crazy, Jacob. They don't care.
Yeah, as I said before, I do agree. And the problem right now, as I said before, that we see that division. We see it and it's nothing being done about it. I mean, they waited until 8 days before Trump was out of office to actually act on any. And at this point, it's a little too late. The damage is already done. And now it's just trying to save the tail at this point by sticking with who they think will hurt them instead of doing the right thing. And the right thing is to speak up at this point.
There's so many different things continue to happen. We're gonna play. If y'all have queued up again, I have really been enjoying these folks who are now banned from these flights. They're really upset. And what gets me, Candace, what gets me, the people who believe, oh, I can just go to Washington, D.C., try to overthrow the government, hop back on a plane. How Candace, they're saying, how dare you tell me I have to get off the plane?
That's what we call privilege, right? See it playing out every day. If you're a Black person in America, you see privilege playing out every day because when you go out, you're really, a body politic. That's what you are. You don't mean to be or want to be, but that's what you are, and you see it playing out, and that's what we are seeing right now. Oh, I didn't know that I couldn't do that. I'm privileged, so let me get on the plane and do exactly what I want. They are going to see another thing coming. The saying goes, you follow the talent? For now, the Republicans believe that the talent falls within Donald Trump. But as these days go further, as we get closer to inauguration and even thereafter, we will see that as people kind of trail off from their support of him, they are not going to have the stick-to-itiveness that they have right now for Donald Trump. It is coming. Why? Because money is going. And that's all of this is about. If you have a party, you have to have money. You have to have power. And yes, he has a base of 74 million people more who are interested in being his staunch supporters, like a cult. But with the same token, he doesn't have the platforms that he had before or the support. There is no tweet. There is no Instagram. There is no Facebook. So what is he going to do? He'll probably start some type of media conglomerate so that he has his own voice. But until then, the Republicans, as we know it, has radically changed, and we're going to see it change so quickly in the next 8 days or until the inauguration, like you have never seen before. And even after inauguration, who do we look to? We look to Letitia James, New York, because even if he is not impeached, she's got state. She's got the state where she's going to be charging him with a number of things, and Letitia is not going to quit. She has said that she is waiting. So even after the 20th. Trump is going to be going downhill in a lot of ways, and he's going to lose a lot of support.
There's this one video that Leslie Jones had posted. Folks might see this video, this white guy hear his twang and think, oh my God, there goes Donald Trump supporter. No, and you know what? What he had to say, I think speaking for a hell of a whole lot of Americans. Y'all watch this.
I hope you're fucking happy and sad, you fucking little piss pants pieces of shit. Ooh, we're gonna storm the Capitol. Let's storm the Capitol. We're patriots. You're a fucking coward. Patriots. Jesus Christ. Fucking idiots that I played high school football with wearing a goddamn American flag bandana talking about we gotta get up there and storm. We gotta take our country back. From what? From fucking what? What are you so goddamn upset about? What has anyone ever done to you? You fucking entitled piece of shit. Don't you ever fucking call me one again. Don't you ever say, Corey, you fucking snowflake. You're a liberal. That means that y'all look. What? Want some people to not be sick every now and then? Is this the thing that you can't fucking stand? So you've got to get in your goddamn fucking piece of shit Ford F-150 you got from your dad, drive it to D.C. and pitch a fucking fit? Is that what it is? Is it health care? Is it still with the fucking guns? Is that what is it? You said Obama was taking them 8 fucking years ago. You said that. Nothing. What is it that this country hasn't fucking given you? You literally got escorted out of the Capitol building aside from the ones that they had to fucking shoot. Is that what it takes? Is you just want to be a fucking martyr? God, you're so fucking pathetic. Do you not ever just sit there and think, my kids are going to see this. My grandkids are going to see this. They're going to put it in the textbook, and you're going to look like the dumbest motherfucker in the world. Nobody will give a shit about Watergate. Nobody. That is fucking... Dude, I'm out of breath from how stupid y'all are. What is it that this country doesn't give you that you think you have to do some bullshit like this? But when you see a fucking black person actually get shot... No gun in their hands, nothing. Oh, they should just comply. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. What is your goddamn problem? Quit embarrassing me, man. I want my fucking country back. How about that? God damn it. Fuck y'all, you fucking cowards.
My point.
And on that note, a bulletin that Lauren is having a standoff with U.S. Capitol Police over trying to take on the House floor.
What?
As we speak, you know Lauren Boebert.
Right, that idiot out of Colorado.
Having a standoff with the Capitol Police at the House door as we speak for this vote that you had up earlier, Roland. And she wants to bring her gun on the floor. Well, she can't bring her gun on the floor. I mean, I don't know why these people think that they're exempt from the rules. I have no idea.
Well, she also, just so folks know, I mean, people need to know who this dumbass is. You know, she also put out this video, you know, I'm this badass. And then we found out actually she was lying. The video was she was not walking around D.C. Her gun, because if she was around, her ass would have been arrested. Because it's still illegal. Just because you're a member of Congress doesn't mean that you get to do whatever the hell you want to do, because you still have to respect another laws. But you know, no, she thinks that she's all that. And again, the Second Amendment, the NRA loving her. Oh, she's our answer to the squad. That's what she is. She's our answer. If y'all see just again how trash she is. Watch this dumbass video. This is going to put in perspective what Lauren is talking about. Watch this.
I'm Lauren Boebert, and I approve this message.
Cut. That's a wrap.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm a newly elected congresswoman from Colorado. Even though I now work in one of the most liberal cities in America, I refuse to give up my rights, especially my Second Amendment rights. I will carry my firearm in D.C. and in Congress. This caused outrage from Democrats and the media. Why? It's our job in Congress to defend your rights, including your Second Amendment, and that's exactly what I'm here to do. In D.C., of all places, we should be encouraged to practice our rights. So forget what you hear in the fake news. Here are the real reasons why I choose to defend myself in our nation's capital. I'm a woman and a mother of 4. I choose to defend my family with all of the force the Constitution provides. D.C. is one of the top 10 most dangerous cities in our country. Homicide rates and violent crimes are skyrocketing here. Being a member of Congress is pretty basic. I don't go to work in a motorcade or armored car. I don't get police escorts everywhere I go. I walk to my office every morning by myself. So as a 5-foot-tall, 100-pound woman, I choose to protect myself legally because I am my best security. One of the challenges of working in D.C. is people here don't understand how we live in real America. The Second Amendment is part of our lives. Gun ownership is cherished, and it makes our little town safer. As a young woman working late nights at a restaurant, I learned real fast how important it is to defend myself. After a violent incident outside my business, I took advantage of Colorado's open carry laws and began to carry at work. My waitresses asked if they could open carry too.
Candace, she's lying. Washington Post did a story. Her ass wasn't walking around. They tried to create this silhouette saying that she was carrying her gun, that she walked out of the Capitol Hill studio onto the streets of Washington, D.C. It was all a lie. So what's about fake news? Fake-ass video.
Well, listen, she's learning from the best. She's learned to create this whole media commercialism on what she's doing, market herself as this person. She's learned from Donald Trump because that's what he did. He marketed himself as the person that he wanted his base to believe that he was. Didn't necessarily have to mean that it was true, but it was part of the plan. Like anybody that had a public relations specialist or pays someone to create this image of who they are. And that's exactly what she was doing. That's why a commercial looks more like a TV show than anything else, right? It's because that's what Donald Trump has done. He created what we saw was a TV show, a reality show.
Indeed, I think that she's trying to attach to a cause so she can somehow uplift herself from what's actually going on in politics between the Republicans and Democrats. So getting the NRA behind her will definitely get those dollars. Things that we were just talking about earlier, those dollars, that's what they're aiming for. So it's not necessarily about who she care about. As you can see, she has fake news. She's faking that she was at the Capitol with her gun, which is ridiculous. But anyway, she by attaching herself to the NRA, she's securing those dollars. She's securing that support and longevity because it makes it look like she's actually defending their rights.
Folks, this is not the last thing we're going to hear. First of all, Capitol Police House Democrats doing a private call Monday and warned them that at least 3 more potentially deadly demonstrations have been planned in D.C. in the coming days. One plot includes white supremacists forming a perimeter around the Capitol, the White House, and the support. Their intention is to then block them entering the Capitol, possibly to make way for Republicans or the government. In response to the threat, armed protests, the emergency in D.C., it ordered federal assistance to response efforts due to the emergency conditions. Now, the emergency will remain in effect until January 24. I believe an attack is being today of the inauguration. Well, now, folks, it gives you a sense. Now, they also other armed event in all 50 state capitals across the country. And so this is what is causing people a lot of consternation. But not just that. What about how idiotic Republicans are? How about this here? 3 House members, folks, have now positive COVID, and they all because they were around these dumbass Republicans who didn't want a mask, who were mocking them. Okay, that's what's now. House members will be one of the things being put on the floor is for the fined if they don't wear masks. Representative Bonnie Watson, New Jersey, was the first lawmaker to announce a positive test, followed by Pramila Jayapal and Brad Snyder, Illinois. Of course, all 3 are in isolation. They blame Trump supporters who stormed the U.S. Capitol and their Republican colleagues who refused to wear a mask. This is video right here of Congresswoman Lisa Rochester trying to pass out masks. You see the blonde in the black? That's that idiot QAnon person out of Georgia. They were mocking them. Now, you see the Capitol Hill police officers, others with masks, but the Republicans were like, oh, no, what the hell? We're not going to mask. We're not going to wear masks. Now, Lord, you have 3 members who have COVID. Lauren?
Oh, I'm sorry. And that's Mark Wayne Mullen, another not so bright member. As you can see, the Republican Party has just become like, with that Lauren Boebert video and this other stuff, it's just a party of stunts and no policy and nothing other than trying to get on Fox News and press Lou Dobbs and maybe getting a slot as a contributor on OWN. or Newsmax. I mean, that's what members of this party has become. It's just been sort of a cycle of wanting to impress people on social media and wanting to impress their friends on Fox News, and there's no policy in between. What's even scarier, too, is they would rather, it looks like to me, they would rather take the government down than to change anything about what they're doing to attract the types of groups that would win them elections. It's sad. And this idea that somehow every single thing has got to be ideology. So now wearing a mask because of COVID, when we're nearing 400,000 deaths because of COVID in a once-in-a-century pandemic, has become a political thing. It's like everything becomes a political thing for the Republican Party. So now it becomes a symbol of a lack of freedom. I'm not wearing a mask. It's just complete idiocy. Just absolute complete idiocy. And Nancy Pelosi, and then when Chuck Schumer comes in as the majority leader of the Senate on January 20, they need to pass the rules of the House and Senate. The House has already passed their rules. The Senate has to pass theirs, and just discipline people. If they don't have consequence for this type of activity, and what happened on January 6th, we're just having this conversation again and again and again and again and again and again. The problem is people are disciplined with words, but not with actions. And to me, if you're not bringing up censure vote for Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz and some of these House members who are clearly in on what happened on Jan 6th, you got nothing. Nothing will ever change.
That's critically important. And bottom line, you got to make people pay. You got to make them pay. Otherwise, what the hell is the whole point?
You do. And you take someone like Bonnie Watson Coleman, right, a cancer survivor. We have someone who is suppressed. Here we are, who have people on the other side who don't want to wear a mask. Okay, if they don't want to protect themselves, that's one thing. But you wear your mask to protect someone else. How you're even on the floor and able to not wear a mask, I don't know. Because if you're walking around in New Jersey and New York, where I am, you're going to get over and will get fined. You have to wear your mask. So they have to have some rule change that people who are making decisions, okay, for the United States of America, that you should and must wear a mask or there will be some consequences. How that is not existing and that they're able to opt out, I do not understand. Because meanwhile, on the other hand, on the outside, when I go to shop right down the street, I have to have a mask or I can't shop. Makes no sense.
It is. It's crazy, Jacob. I mean, I don't understand what these people are thinking. But again, though, even this basic thing, they're feeding into the crazies. The same people who are out about overthrow Trump, they're the anti-maskers.
Yeah. I'm not an advocate for masks either, but I mean, at the end of the day, to keep everyone safe around me, because you never know if you're carrying it or not. So unless you get tested frequently. And, out of respect for someone else, I will wear a mask around them. But if I'm in my car on my alone time or, by myself, of course, I would definitely not wear one. But that's not, Republicans aren't the only representatives I have seen not wear masks as well. It's been across the board in both Senate and in the Congress as well. But I do think that as far as when they go in to do work, and they're in a communicable area, they need to have their mask on. And that's just that.
Folks, so let's talk about out of Minnesota, where Derek Chauvin, of course, the cop who's charged with the death of George Floyd, tried separately from the other officers. Judge Peter ruled the physical limit impossible to comply with COVID-19 physical restrictions if all four defendants were tried at the same time. They will be tried on charges of second intentional murder and second manslaughter for suffocating Floyd last May by placing his knee on Floyd's neck. Jury selection for his trial from March 8th to March. Opening statements will begin no earlier than March 29th. With three officers, Thomas Lane, Alexander King, and who helped restrain, and to that who stood nearby, charged with aiding and abetting degree manslaughter. All three will stand trial together 23rd. Speaking of who's going to be going to trial soon, a woman accused 14-year-old Keenan of stealing her cell phone on for the later turn up an Uber in California last week, flown back to New York City. She was charged with attempted robbery, and endangering the welfare of a child for altercation with a 14-year-old. Well, last week we showed you an interview that she did with my opponent, with Gayle King, where she actually convinced King that she was a sweet person by telling King enough while being questioned. Here's part two of the crazy. She isn't racist because she's also a person.
You seem to have attacked this teenager about the phone, and then it turned out he didn't even have your phone.
Okay, so
that's the thing.
Do you want to get to that part?
You're saying, look,
Because
I'm
the
22 years
hotel
old.
did
You're
have my
22
phone.
years old, but you are old enough to know better.
Oh, the hotel
so I will
did
say
have
you're
my
22.
All right,
I
Gail,
get it.
Enough. The hotel did have my phone. The hotel did end up having my phone. I did get my belongings returned to me. So maybe it wasn't him, but at the same time, how is it so that as soon as I get asked to leave the premises after I had this person of stealing my phone, how is it that all of a sudden they just miraculously have my phone when I come back? And it didn't seem as if my accusations really bothered the son and the father, because they were just enjoying a nice right after this whole encounter. But all I'm saying,
I don't know if you, Mia,
is I want this to be over, and I'm sorry. So I would love to make this short and sweet, Gail.
Mia, I want to go back to that day. Take us back to that day. We've all seen the video.
Okay, so I arrived back to the hotel after grabbing some Starbucks. I had noticed my phone had been missing, so I just, the hotel manager, asked him if he could kindly just check the footage.
Enough. So she want to tell Gail enough. Enough of hitting her ass. I don't want to hear the whining. Buying is that's what you're looking at when you look at footage. And you also have folk like her who can operate in their racism as well. And so, bottom line, I hope they give her ass as much time as possible. Speaking of giving time, the former governor of Michigan is going to be indicted. The Associated Press reported this today. The Attorney General Dana Nessel's office intends to charge for Governor Rick Snyder, several of his top advisors, for their role in the water crisis. Her office expects to announce grand jury indictments Thursday against the former two-term Republican governor and other top officials who were part of Snyder's administration. This to charge Snyder comes after years of investigations into the Flint water crisis. Investigators needed to figure out who was to blame the elevated toxic levels. Candace, what do you make of?
Listen, decisions were made. As a result, the water in the Flint, Michigan system was contaminated. People died. So somebody has to be held accountable. And obviously, prosecutors thought that they had enough, went to a grand jury. They did have enough to secure an indictment. So we're going to see what happens, over the next couple of weeks and what's going to be what the defense team is going to say as a result. But what has happened so far is what should happen, and that someone had to have been held accountable. And this is the right person, because he obviously was in a position to make decisions that led to this water contamination. And not just for a few months, we're talking years that Flint, Michigan has been under this whole umbrella and besieged by bad water. So I'm not surprised. It's just been a very long time, and we'll see what happens in the next weeks.
This need, and it was decisions by Snyder that led to this, that allowed for this crisis. And these people in Flint and their children and their children's children will all be affected by this. I saw one story where they said the special needs of students in the school up 56% since the crisis, Lauren.
Yeah, and the question is, why does this take so long? I mean, it's been going on forever. We knew what happened in Flint. We knew Snyder was responsible for it. And here we are in 2021, finally getting around to doing something about it. I just don't know why these things take so long. I remember when A. Scott Roland represented one of the officials in Flint. He was at a hearing. That was like, 4 or 5 years ago. So, I mean, one of the things about our judicial process is just everything takes too long to bring people justice that should have been brought to justice already. So that's why I'm frustrated. I'm glad this is happening, but it's just, at some point, justice delayed is justice denied. It happened already. It should have happened years ago.
That is the case, Jacob. Again, it's important that someone pay. We talk about accountability. You can't have accountability unless this.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Being from Detroit, this is amazing for me. I've had family in Flint, and it's a horrible thing. Poisoning all around. It's people. We had to drive water up there just so people can take a bath. Rick Snyder, he is the person that needs to be charged, and everyone that's around. He made the decision. At the end of the day, you were the leader in the situation, and you were the causation of the situation. You didn't even notify anyone. You just allowed it to happen and happen and happen. So at the end of the day, you are responsible. And it makes me emotional to even think about it, because I know so many people who lost their lives to this, and they would never be the same because of his lackluster decisions. And like, if you look at someone like Kwame Kilpatrick, they sentenced him fast. There wasn't no discussion. They brought an indictment up on him, and now you have to look and see how political stuff gets. It's not about the people. It's about what's convenient for them, and it's only because he's white.
Absolutely. Well, y'all know what time it is.
No charcoal grills are allowed. I'm white. I got you, girl.
Illegally selling water without a permit
On my property.
Whoa!
Hey!
You don't live here. I'm uncomfortable.
Don't you just love white privilege? They can't stand it when black people have power. This white man in Atlanta was not happy that he was to leave a Walmart wearing a mask. Instead of leaving, he assumes he's being leave because he's white. Roll it.
I want you.
Because I'm white, she asked me to leave the property. It is because I'm white. What else is it?
Knock it off.
Don't tell me knock it off. I ain't sitting
Sir,
under here.
let him down and leave now or you're going to jail.
Well, okay, why are you pointing your finger at me for? I'm just wanting to know why she asked me to leave the property. Because I'm white? Because I'm white.
You used to put on a mask. Well, you don't.
Who's I don't know what county you are, but in my county, my sheriff said it's an unlawful mandate. My sheriff said.
Okay, guess what? I don't work for Darren King. I work for town board. Okay. And I'm telling you, this is their property. They make the rules.
You're not even wearing your mask right.
If you want to get to that.
No, it's because I'm white. Come here, white. It's because I'm white. It's because I'm white. Yeah, it is.
Okay, this is.
I'll put it down. I'll walk back out here. I'll walk back out here. But this is you're racist.
Knock it off.
I'm not knocking anything off.
I need you to ask him in our presence to leave the store.
Leave the store and I'll come back in because I'm white. You're doing it.
No, you're not come back in. Without a mask. I'm sorry, ma'am.
Don't worry, I was filming him the entire time.
Micah says I got him on film.
No, it's not because you're white. It's because your dumbass not wearing a mask, Candace.
Oh my goodness! And in North Carolina, you have to wear a mask. So therein lies the issue. Need we guess who he probably voted for in the last two elections, though? Let's be real. This is someone who has been lied to by Trump to think that he is in fact the victim. He's one of those people who was, storming the Capitol, right? Because of the fact that he thinks this world belongs to him and he's the only one that matters. That privilege belongs to him, and he doesn't have to wear a mask. Everybody else has to mask. Even police officers have to wear the mask, but not him. This is what he was saying to white police officers. So therein the problem. You have more of the Trumpettes doing what they're doing out in the world, not understanding that rules also apply to them.
Jacob, then the idiot says, "You're not wearing the mask, fool. You're not wearing one at all."
Well, I mean, as you said, it's a Trump nation, but I don't think it's just, this is before Trump. He incited this, but you have to think, though, this is deeply entrenched into our culture in America. They believe that they're fighting for their democracy, which they are. They're going to lose their privileges. The oppressor does not want to give up their strengths. They want to keep people under their thumb, and that right there, being told what to do, and they feel that there's their God-given right to be able to say no.
I just got a kick out of it. Oh, to the black woman, it's because I'm a racist. No, put your mask on. You got to go. And again, first of all, I'm glad to see some tell him to shut up. But you see the white privilege. You don't tell me to shut up. You know damn well they don't tolerate that much back talk from somebody black.
It would have been a George Floyd instance all over again.
Lauren, go ahead.
It's not about the mask at all. It has nothing to do with the mask. It has to do with control and who has control and who tells who what to do. And you already mentioned in our country, it's never been the case that black women have been able to boss white men. For 400 years, that's never been the custom at any point, in any place, at any time in the United States of America. And in that incidental moment, what you saw was, remember, the whole issue with the lunch counter wasn't the lunch counter, what about coffee? It was about the fact that white people would have to serve black people. Black people would have the opportunity to tell white people what to do. Get me some coffee, get me some pancakes, whatever. So it's about control, and it's about who leads the conversation, what we're doing. And so it's not about the mask. You're telling me to put the mask on is the issue. The mask is just a proxy for control. And in fact, in this larger moment in this country with idiots like Congresswoman Boebert, she doesn't want to be told what to do by some authority. And it makes, she gets to brand herself as, you can't tell me what to do with regard to the Second Amendment. And that's what that's really about. Oh, I stood up against tyranny because they can't tell me what to do. And that's what they turned the mask thing into. It's idiocy, but they believe it, and they believe in it strongly, which is what we just saw.
Absolutely. That is. Yeah, go ahead.
Roland, I was going to say, I know that he was offended by the black woman telling him what to do. He probably was even more offended by the fact that these two white police officers look just like him, did not give him the privilege that he is normally used to. And he probably was even more offended by that he couldn't get them to co-sign his argument.
The audacity, right?
Yep.
The audacity, right? How dare you? We're the same. I thought that we had an understanding.
That's
it
why.
seemed like there was that going on.
That's why I keep telling people, all of this action you're seeing is because of white ear. They do not like that the black people voted, and we did not to keep the racist, sexist, xenophobic idiot in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Just 8 days left, folks, with Donald Trump. They walk his ass out of the White House around time. Praise the Lord. It'll be a glorious day come 12 p.m. on January 20th. Trump is saying he's not going to attend the election. Trust me, your punk ass won't be missed. Don't worry about it. You won't be missed at all. We really don't care if he isn't there. And so we're going to continue monitoring what's going on. Back to the C-SPAN shot, folks. They are the vote over, but they normally hold this thing open. You see 207 yea, 202 nays. There are 15 who have not voted. Hold this thing open until they actually do. We'll let you know what happens tomorrow. Democrats are likely going to move forward with impeachment. Lauren, you've covered Cap. What do you to take?
There's going to be Republicans who are going to vote Democrats for impeachment. Just talk about whether or not it's going to pass in the Senate and all that. I really think that's irrelevant, although John Martin at the New York Times has apparently found support for it, and some rumors about Mitch McConnell really finally finding, I guess, the strength to say that he feels like these offenses are impeachable, which clearly they are. I mean, if you can't get impeached for what happened last week, then you can never get impeached for anything, on top of everything else that Donald Trump has done for 4 years. So what is expected is that the Democrats will pass tomorrow, and they joined by about 20 to 25 Republicans. Have that same group in there that is the Trump wing of the Republican Party House. That doesn't really surprise anybody. The threat levels are going up much toward impeachment, and expect to see some unprecedented security. We typically, of course, already mentioned, Roland, when you were driving in, we always see unprecedented around this town during impeachment. But when you have 15,000 members of the National Guard standing around, you're going to see some stuff that you've never seen. I know that, there's talk about Joe Biden wanting to do his days and wanting to focus on his agenda. He's got to wake up. He's got to wake to the fact that we are looking at an unprecedented situation. I don't want to say the word sword. I think that's a little bit much. But so you got some radicalization in the country that needs to be dealt with on top of the disaster. And Joe Biden, I know, wants to do his agenda and focus on all that, but he's got to also focus on what just happened last week.
I think part of the problem here is that, again, Joe Biden is stuck in the 1980s and 1990s. This idea that, no, we can find common ground. In fact, y'all saw a story where Tom Daschle has been counseling Joe Biden and him by saying, no, if you really, really, really work with Mitch, you can get a lot more done than if you fight Mitch. I'm like, Tom, you lost your seat.
Right.
You didn't retire. You lost. Right. And again, their idea of the Democratic Party, Bob Mitchell and others, where you had a number of moderate Republicans, moderate Republicans, and you had your center-right, your far-right Republicans. There are no moderate Republicans.
But see,
when you reach a point when Pat Toomey is seen as a moderate Republican, you know damn well that's gone. And so, and I'm telling you, Biden in his mind is thinking, I can really work with them. No. They are going to try to squash you.
It's also the denial of what you're dealing with when it comes to racism.
Yes.
They don't want to admit that the country is not John Wayne, and this is not the 1950s. This is real. And again, we saw the same thing before Charlottesville. Nobody wanted to really admit that type of racial hatred existed. They just thought they could ignore it and it would go away. Well, you know, Joe Biden, I get it. You want 100 days, you want your agenda roll out, your nominees to be, in office. I get what he's thinking, but they have got to wake up to the historic moment that we're in. It started when Barack Obama was elected in 2008. All the flickers of it then. And now it is 10 years later, we're dealing with it in a worse form. And I suspect what's going to wake him up is something that Donald Trump does off to the side, some rally or something that'll get his attention. But you gotta wake up. You can't ignore racism and what's going on right now.
And frankly, Jacob, that's what they're doing. I think that what you have is you got folks like Joe Biden, a lot of Democrats who really, really believe this few bad apples nonsense. They are not fully understanding of white supremacy. They're not fully understanding that 74 million people openly and knowingly vote for and avowed racist. 74 million people completely dismissed every single thing this man said or did up to Election Day. That is what they somehow are not really understanding.
The power of media. That's the first thing. The second thing is, Joe, I think he's more or less worried about his legacy at this point. It's not really about the people. I mean, it sounds good. I mean, even grabbing Kamala Harris to run with him was a good political move. But to me, it's more or less about his agenda and what he wants to put out. It doesn't seem like he's actually focused on us. And it sounds good through tweets and stuff like that, but let's see what policies do you put in place? How are you going to combat this? How are you working with cities and different states to make sure that this is not this cease to exist? What bills are you going to put forward for what? How are you going to make these people that we call terrorists, right? How are we going to move forward with them in the judicial system? Are they going to be tried as somebody that bombed 9/11, or are they going to just be slapped on the wrist and get a couple years, just like the gentleman that was being held in detention center right now, who his mother requested that he gets organic food? I've never heard of this in my life. As a black person, I wish, like my cousin, I wish his mother could ask for steaks and things of that nature, and that just shows you that. You know, he's in denial. They're in denial. Everybody that isn't a minority, for the most part, is in denial about what's really going on here. They don't want that control to leave, and I don't know. I don't know what's the plan, but I'm intrigued to see what he does.
Candace, final comment here, and I really don't. Despite what he's saying, I really don't think Biden is fully accepting of how severe this white supremacy is. Right. Not fully this white fear I've been talking about. This is since 2009. The people. This is not good. See, this was the mistake Hillary made, and it was a mistake Biden made. They tried to divorce Trump from the Republican Party. They literally said it. No. There's a lot of great Republicans. We're all good. It's Trump who's different. That's what, they're the same. And if they don't accept that, if they don't accept that these people are then putting policy views through this, and for the 74 million to say, here we ignore all of that because we don't like you, that's what they have to accept. These people are hell-bent on a dominant white rule, and they don't want people like us to be participants in this.
And this is exactly why we need not wait 100 days in order to continue the impeachment process once it begins. There's this idea of the 100 days. There's also an idea to maybe split the days of doing part of, Joe Biden's work and then another part of the day doing the impeachment process. You can't stop and go at the same time. You just have pure inertia. You have got to move forward on one thing, that being the impeachment, because as you said, the ideas, the policies, just with all of the people who are continue to fight their rights services ways are going to be putting forward if we don't attack that first. If we don't get to this notion to get rid of Donald Trump full throttle first, we will not make the progress that we need once inauguration happens. And that has to be first and foremost what takes place. Go through the impeachment process, complete it, and then move on. Remember, we did confirm a United Supreme Court justice in 8 days. It can happen, and we also have had the impeachment process tried and true already since Trump has already been impeached. So it's not new. We should understand the process and get it done.
You can if you want to. The reality is don't want to because the white power base is their base. And they know it. Folks, that's it. If you want to support what we do here on Unfiltered, please join our Bunk Fan Club. I'm going to shout out the people who give it $50 or more. That's how we do it. Shout out to Anna Francis Sharma, Aaron Cassius, Portlock, Marcus Short, Tanya, Jesse and Derek Barnes, Morales, Selwyn King, Lisa Jenkins, Ainsley, Patrick Thompson, Audrey, Marvin Ferguson, Joe Stevens, Alice Brock, Daryl, Rena Harrison, Rita Reed, Gail Edge, Vernell Deere, Cheryl Dugan, Linda Elizabeth Jones, Brenna Lasco, Michael Ann Blythe, Sandra Qualls, Katie Phyllis Goodwin, Gwen Good, Tony Collier Sr., Denise Garrett, Sheila Brooks, Communications, Kim, Charlotte Powell, Douglas, Melanie Tittle, Glenda Allen Jennings, Jeffries, Lynn Call, the Education News Network, and Maxie Faustine Caldwell, Ernest Timor Freeman, James Jackson Jr., Rustin, Jonathan Kimberly Turner, Sheila Hara McCullough, Sharon Hicks, Thomas, Latifa Muhammad, D. Shade, Hammond, J. Tandra Threadcraft, D. Braxton, Lenise Lindsay, Deb Carlton Wilson, Rudolph, Don Richard, Willie and Henrietta Dunlofton, Stephen and Tammy Robinson, Horton family, Jay LaCara, Adi James Lewis, May Robertson, Benton, Patricia Smith, Bertie, Michael Holmes, Santarda Fahid, Carol Asper, Sharon Sabolsky, Calvin Weeks, James Mims, Monica Min, Cecilia Wright, Ronald Copeland, Barbara A. Vivian Washington. Folks, you can join our Bring the Fan Club by going to @RM Unfiltered, /R Martin Unfiltered, .com is venmo.com/RM Unfiltered. Email Roland @RolandSMartin.com. Folks, thank you so very much. Jacob, thanks a lot. Candace, thanks a lot. Lauren, thanks a lot. We will continue to monitor what's happening on Capitol Hill. Tomorrow's going to be all about the impeachment vote, U.S. House. And we'll be talking about it right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Shout out to Walter Kimbrough, my frat brother, president of Dillard University. I tell you, I only wear gear on the show to HBCUs I spoke to. And Dillard was like, yo, you came to our campus. I was like, I have y'all gear. So they hooked me up with a hoodie, a t-shirt, as well as a hat, as well as a Dillard mask. And so I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so much to all the folks at Dillard down there in New Orleans. Can't wait to be back on y'all campus. Talk to y'all later. Ha!